Glad you're all here. Go ahead and share my screen and we'll get started in a second here. Hopefully it's not going to be too hot where you are today. I think it's going to hit 90 something where I am today. So yay. And I'm not in San Jose, so that's why. Anyway, so welcome everybody. We're going to be cognizant of our time and we're going to go ahead and get started. I know a lot of you are just getting into the meeting, but we have a lot to share with you today and we're going to go ahead and get started, but welcome and we're glad you're here. As you all know, we're recording this meeting, so again, you can share this later or watch later as well. So we always want to acknowledge the land that we're on and understand that it's important to, acknowledge our Indigenous folks that we've worked and partnered with, hopefully. And we want to also talk about that we've shared this resource on all of our meetings. And we just want to make sure that you see this again, but we want to also start off with a question about what are some ways that we as educators can change our practices when it comes to Indigenous knowledge and culture. So we're going to pop that question into the chat and let you just answer that in the chat. Just think about it for a moment. And I can just say that some of the work we've been recently doing in Santa Clara County is that we've partnered with a couple of our local Indigenous tribes, and we've talked about some curriculum around what they're doing and practices they're doing. And I know, Amity could share too. It's the same with Amamutsan are doing a lot of really great work in restoration of areas and also really being part of our reaching out to the community and having people understand, their practices and their ways over the years. And they've got some really fantastic resources. And then another local organization for San Jose is the Muwekma Ohlone, and they are starting to do that work as well. So they've had some change in leadership. So it's really exciting and we're making sure we're communicating with them and partnering with them. But also one of the things I want to share is that as you're going on your, some of you are going on vacations and trips to maybe some national parks, and just be cognizant and thoughtful of, who has been on that land before you and how you're utilizing the land in that space. So on to the next one. But go ahead and share some thoughts in the chat too about this question and maybe some things that you're doing in your county office around this. So we know that this is our last meeting of the year, and we just want to make sure that we understand what our objectives have been. So we're sharing resources and innovative practices. I'm not going to read this word for word, but we know we're trying to support access to regular and ongoing environmental and outdoor learning experiences. We want to really make sure that we're centering our work on our more vulnerable and marginalized communities. We also want and have been trying to work with you all in supporting district-wide plans for these experiences, applying our frameworks. We know that all of the different curricular frameworks are now including and embedding environmental principles and practice and concepts, and then also thinking about sustainability and climate action. So that's definitely a big part of what we want to support you with. We really want to give you an idea that this entire community is focused on change and how we're bringing change into this space about environmental literacy, sustainability, and climate resilience. And we're trying to do this across a whole system, and we're going to talk about that a little bit more when we do a more deeper reflective of what we've done this year. But we also want to make sure that we've really, throughout all these communities of practice, we've talked about lots of different stakeholders. And today, even though it's titled Youth and Parent Engagement, we're really going to focus on youth engagement and give you some stories and connections on how our county offices have already done that, and also have you reflect on how you've done that work. So a little icebreaker and connector. So tell us, what are your plans this summer? Are you hopefully going to get some time to take time off and relax and rejuvenate? Maybe some of you are going to venture out on vacations, and we haven't been able to do that in a couple of years. And just put that in the chat as well. Let us know, what are your summer plans? And some of us may be working through the summer too, and that's okay, but we hope you take some time off, but we really all deserve to take a little bit of time off. So, and maybe get out in nature too and enjoy time in the outdoors. So hopefully you're all checking out the chat. Oh, Yellowstone, Europe. Oh my gosh, how exciting. Rewriting science fair documents. Oh, Heather, take time off too, please.
It's actually fun. I know that sounds really weird, but I'm rewriting to a student expo and it is going to be so much more fun. So yeah.
Oh, vacation in Oregon, driving across the US. Nice. Ooh, science retreat. Okay. Nice. Great plans. We might, yeah, some of you are asking us to join you. Maybe we will. Tell us when and where. Okay, let's get into the next part here. Sorry, let's go to the next slide. So this is just our agenda today. Obviously, we're connecting now. We're going to talk about youth engagement and how different aspects of that. We're going to hear from a couple of county offices about what they've done with youth engagement. We're going to have we always love our breakout rooms. So we're going to have some time in our breakout rooms to discuss what you're doing as a county office to engage the youth. We'll reflect upon our year because this is the end of our school year, and then think about and share with you some upcoming opportunities, and hopefully we'll all continue in this community of practice together. So you really want to think about this question. We're asking you a lot of questions today, so here's another one. You know, why is it important to engage our youth? Some thinking that we've all talked about over the last few years is this: we know that the youth are actually speaking up, right? We know our students really want change and they really want us to support their understanding of what's happening in the climate, and also, you know, supporting them with taking action. I know a group that I work with, they've all talked about how they feel like their teachers aren't teaching about climate change. So they really are pushing for that in their districts. They've been talking to their districts about climate action plans and what that looks like. So, you know, why do we think this is important? You know, why, and answer that in the chat as well. Why is engaging our youth important? And we'll share a little bit there too. We'll see some things in the chat for that one. Taking action, feeling less helpless in the face of climate change. Oh, that's a good one. And even our young students are knowing this, right? We know even our TK and kindergartners know that things are happening in the climate, and we really need to get them understanding what they can do to take action and be solutionaries, right? Oh, what did I just see? It's something else in the chat, because that is the call, right? Voice and choice, a sense of connection and hope. Yeah, we want to provide that for them. Thank you for sharing. These are great.
Jen, I'm not sure if other people are having trouble, but I can barely hear you, and I have my sound cranked.
Okay.
I'm really, really far away, so.
Okay. I don't. Is that?
Heather, your sound sounds not good, and Jen, I can hear you fine. Okay. So it might be that your input isn't working right either, Heather.
Okay. Sorry about that. I'll kind of lean in towards my microphone too a little bit more. But I've had that trouble as well in the past. So in the next, we're going to talk about a little bit. We're going to just kind of, I'm going to just do a quick overview here of ways and pathways to youth engagement. We're going to dig into this more with when our county offices share and we get into the breakout rooms. So these are just some ways that you can engage youth in the county office level. So partnering with youth organizations. Maybe you're creating an intensive knowledge to action leadership program, and that's working with in partnerships, and we're going to hear more about that and what that looks like. Maybe you're offering annual youth summits, or you are partnering with organizations that do that, providing internships for youth, making sure maybe looking at those career pathways, also ongoing coaching and support. We're also looking at direct teaching and expanded learning programs, intersessions, etc. We know that there's youth involvement. Kind of the standard is that there's green teams at schools sometimes, or that there's youth that are involved at district level or county level committees. So maybe tapping into that as well. That's part of that. So I'm actually now going to go ahead and pass it off to Andrea for our first County Office of Ed story.
Great. Good morning, everyone. Great to see everyone here. Happy June. Let's go right to the next slide here. So our journey of working with students really started in our first year when we launched the initiative in 2017-18. I was just coming out of working at a high school. And so I felt like I was just doing like a ton of leadership work at that high school as a director of sustainability. So I knew like the power of youth, and I thought that was really important, but I didn't really understand how to do this at the county level. So I thought it would make sense to try to start with launching a network for youth across the county. So in that first year, we did that, and we hosted a summit in 2017-18. And we just tried to pull together whatever, like we looked across all of our high schools. So we had like, I think we have 24 high schools, and we tried to see who's got a green club, who has AP environmental science, like the general market that we thought would be the starting point. And we just invited from across there. And it was pretty successful. The first time we did it, like we got across, I think we had like 16 different high schools represented, lots of different students there. But for me, the purpose originally was to really get students to be educated and empower them. And I was like, okay, we'll have this summit, we'll have this network, and then like things will happen. And that's not exactly what happened. So in reality, it looks less like a network and more like us just hosting 1 to 2 annual summits a year where the youth inspire each other. And that's like our chance to identify new leaders. But it certainly did not like do what I thought it would do, which was have like a really strong network where they're constantly like in collaboration with each other. So we decided, you can go to the next slide. We decided that we needed to launch like a bigger program. So it took us about a year to identify partners and different people we wanted to work with, but we decided to launch like a true leadership capacity building program to take kids from knowledge to action. So I did that in partnership with our County Office of Sustainability and a couple other groups, Actera and Citizens Environmental Council. And we got some funding from Peninsula Clean Energy, which is our community choice aggregate. And basically we designed a year long, it's a little less than a year, but like about a 7 to 8 month program that's knowledge to action that takes kids through this process of like really taking apart environmental issues and climate issues, identifying one that they think is a problem that they want to work on, and then they design community impact projects. And along the way, we like really like build community, we have them network, we provide mentorship, and we would just really strengthen their capacity. So if you go to the next slide, I'll just share that we've had 3 cohorts come through. So in 2020, 2021, and 2022, the program is hybrid. So we do it in person, retreat, and then virtual workshops. And we really have a lot of great representation across our county. So we're really proud of like being able to get so many students involved in this program. And if you go to the next slide, you can see the kids are just doing a ton of different projects. So lots of different things like from waste and energy and water and just lots of different issues. Some are just generally tackling climate change issues, living schoolyards, all that kind of stuff. They're really bringing these actions forward because that's what they're required to do by the end of the program is this action project. So if you're interested in learning more about that, if you go to the next slide, you'll see there's a ton of different case studies. So what we have them do at the end is they actually have to capture their experience in a case study. And so there's just a lot of different testimonials now and examples of youth in action. And most of them are doing their action at their schools, but some are doing it in the broader community. So we're happy for that. And then go to the next slide. This really did the original goal that I was hoping for, which created a network and this like pipeline of leadership and this like really strong base of youth leaders across our county. So these alumni from this program continue to take action where they've declared climate emergencies in different districts and across the county. They're leading now district-wide sustainability committees, and they're doing tons of like leadership and green clubs at their schools and working with local nonprofits and stuff. So we're really excited about that. And then if you go to the next slide, another thing that we do is we provide technical assistance. So of course we do that in that program. We're coaching the students, but students who've graduated from that program or students who attend our summits or students like we have a youth commission in San Mateo County. We basically offer any like coaching and consultative services to all these different students. And that's allowed us to really get in there deeper with students who want to go beyond just the like summit offering or the Youth Climate Ambassadors program. And we get them wherever we think they want to get. So we do help with project management, or we do trainings for them, or we just do like basic Like I met with these students who lead this district-wide sustainability committee. I met with them like every 2 weeks over the course of the whole year. And they've really launched, like they've got board members involved and district members involved, and they've led all these different action projects. So it was totally worth my time to provide the technical assistance to these high schoolers to do this work. And they had really basic questions. Like they were like, what's a committee? And I was like, oh, right. You're 15 and 16. You don't know what that is or how it functions or doesn't function half the time, right? So it was a lot of just really basic coaching about what is change? How does change work? What's a committee? Why would you do one? So sometimes it starts really at that basic level, but by the end of it, the kids have been incredible. And then last one I just wanted to share that we do in our county is that we also offer, if you go to the next slide, we also offer internships. So we've had some students that were really interested in going a lot deeper with our work and saying like, how can we support you? You've given us so much. Can we support your work? So we've done this by coordinating with different high schools, programs that have like intersessions or different internship programs. We also just offer a general summer internship experience with us. And then we also have worked with our community colleges. So we have a ton of different examples of that. And I'll just put in the chat box, there's like a bunch of different like examples on our Changemakers website. There's 2 stories there from some youth interns. And then we also have this like program report from youth. So I think for me, like what I could say in my conclusion here is that investing in the youth has been an absolute huge investment of time, but with a great outcome. Like it was totally worth our time to do it. And I'm glad that we started with that like original summit, because we still do that. We still do it in partnership though with our youth commissioners. So it's not just our only program, but it still exists as just like a catch-all, like whoever's out there. So that's it for me. I'm gonna turn over to Amity now to share her stuff.
I just love hearing about Andra's stuff because I just get so excited. And I don't get to hear all the details oftentimes until we're presenting at the same time at something. So I'm Amity Sandage from Santa Cruz County Office of Education. And my colleague Celeste Gutierrez is also in the community of practice today, who's our student leadership and engagement coordinator, and my partner in this work. I'm always looking for another phrase other than partner in crime, but you know, you get the idea. She's amazing. And I wanted to share the story of our Youth for Environmental Action program, which kind of wraps a lot of the elements that Andra was talking about into one program. So instead of having a lot of different pathways, we just have a lot of different experiences that are pulled into this one program with our high school leadership team and support teams in the county. So this slide just gives you a peek of their logo that was student created. No, that's okay. You can go to the next slide. And I'd just like to start off with our why. Our youth engagement programs were really born out of a synergy that occurred when our current superintendent took office in 2019. And his first priority initiatives focused on equity, wellness, and youth voice. And there was this great synergy with ideas I had been pulling together to launch a high school leadership program called Youth for Environmental Action to address students' intense desire to see change in their schools and also to help them cope with the weight of the climate crisis. And so our superintendent launched this student engagement and leadership program at our county office with Celeste at the head. And our Youth for Environmental Action became the pilot program for it. And the goal is for the COE to elevate the voice and role of students alongside adult decision makers in order to affect change in the school system. And with that, I'd like to bring in our student voices on the next slide to share their own words about why this work is important to them. And these clips are what they shared at a Zoom meeting this past spring with district leaders from districts across our county. So I'm just going to show a partial clip of this. Go ahead.
My name is Emily and I go to Kirby, and the Green Schools group is really important to me because it's really important that kids learn from a young age, like while they're in school, that taking care of the environment is really important. And if they get in the habit of that when they're young, they will just continue doing that throughout their life. And climate change is such a big thing happening right now, and it's really scary to a lot of young people. And I think if their schools were helping to combat that issue, young people would have a lot less anxiety about climate change. And my suggestions for school leaders are, like, listen to your students, listen to what they want your school to be like, and suggestions that they have of issues that they've noticed on your campus. And I would just like to share how it's really, it causes me a lot of anxiety, climate change, and I feel that if schools, instead of just ignoring it, like, took it head on and was like, what can we do to help this? And it would really help a lot of young people.
Hi, I'm Mara. I go to Santa Cruz High. Emily couldn't have said it any better. Really, it's the more people know about the natural world, the more they care. And I think the best way to reach as many young people as possible is through schools. So I think what I would want to tell green schools is to really get the students involved in whatever efforts you're doing, so that they really have a part in it, and hopefully they can carry that passion after they graduate.
My name is Emily. Green schools are important to me because school is a place where you go to learn, and what you learn, hopefully you're excited about and you share with other people. So if people are like talking about climate change or like just, green composting, anything at their school, they'll bring that back to maybe their home, their friends, their family. So that's really valuable. It will spread awareness. And I guess in terms of what school leaders can do, I would say what Emily and Mara said. I think just listen to the youth and what we have to say and the changes we want, and be willing to make those steps to like go in the right direction. So not like, just be willing to make that action.
Okay, you can stop the video there. Sorry you don't get to hear all the students, but I know that those messages are not things that are, they're the kinds of things you put in the chat already, but I wanted you to hear them because they were speaking directly to teams of district superintendents, C&I directors, business directors, and facility staff from every district in our county at this meeting. And so you can imagine those words coming direct from a student to those leaders is really impactful. And so bringing students into influential spaces where they can share their perspectives and advice is one of our goals in Youth for Environmental Action and our other youth-led leadership groups. And you can go to the next slide, Jen. So to accomplish that, we've developed a structure called the Youth-Led Leadership Alliance that has, in the next slide, has it, there we go. That has youth groups focused on 5 different areas, and these are actually shifting a bit this year, but that was this year's. Next year will change a tiny bit, but the environmental group being the first group that launched, and with Youth for Environmental Action to ensure representation across our county and really focus on equity, we recruit 2 to 3 students from every high school to become part of the county leadership team. That's our goal. And then we connect those students who would often never interact with each other, and they build a really strong community around their shared passion for the environment. They become incredible allies for one another's communities, and they also support each other in taking risks and learning new things. So another goal is to serve students who are not getting leadership opportunities in their general school experience. So we do that in our recruitment, and also we encourage that by having this be a paid internship program to ensure that having to work is not a barrier for a student to participate in the program. And on the next slide, you can see the foundational elements of the program. And when you look at these, you'll see that at its heart, it's really a student-driven youth development program that is pulling students in by focusing on what they care about, whether it's the environment or one of those other topics. And as Andra said, it's a really intensive program to run, something that's 100% student driven and a democratic process. It's intensive, but it's highly impactful for the participants. And it operates on the belief that going deep with a small but committed team is going to, in the end, create more lasting, powerful systemic change. And the next slide, please. On this slide, you get to see some of the impacts that this small but mighty leadership team is having, and these will go in the chat as well. I can stick them in there. They're just on a document, so you have the links. So as you saw, this is a very student-driven program. But we do actually have one project that they have to do that COE requires is hosting and designing and leading our annual Environmental Action Summit. So the students have had to do a virtual summit one year, and then this year they had their first in-person summit, and they had it all outdoors, zero waste. It was unbelievable, with 150 people representing about half students, half adults in the community, and school leaders. They invited their board members, and some came. It had breakout workshops, adult and student panels, and it was really a wonderful day that they facilitated. And they have also presented to our County School Boards Association, providing really detailed recommendations to schools and a draft resolution that they asked all of those board association members to take back to their respective school boards and share with them. And that resulted in some resolutions being passed. They were at all of the Green Schools working group meetings, which is where that clip came from before. And as I mentioned, the feedback from those district leadership teams that having the students be a part of those meetings was one of the most powerful parts of working together. And they've had a lot of success with media, and also getting out into events like the conferences. They did a panel at the 6th Symposium, and in our own community events, our Environmental Justice Town Hall. So I think I'm probably out of time and need to hand it over to Tamara. So I'm going to go to my last slide, and just wanted to share what students say this program means to them. This is what this year's team said when they did a Wordle together. And people ask what we're doing next, and I always say, like, well, I'll find out when we talk to the students. But when Andra brought this up, we actually just started talking about an alumni network as a possibility, because it is such a great thing if they wanted to come back, because we had a couple students from the past years want to come to this year's summit because theirs got canceled due to COVID, and they're still in touch. And so that was really great to reconnect with them. So really excited. We're also launching a board training program that is under Celeste's leadership to help students understand school boards and be trained to be prepared to be school board members, youth representatives. So that's an exciting new direction as well. And with that, I'm going to pass it on to Tamara.
All right, thanks, Amity. I just have to say, I too am always so inspired to hear what's going on in the other counties with the students. In San Joaquin, our youth programs are relatively new, so we're not quite as far as they are, but I do want to share with you some successes that our youth network had. So the first thing that I just want to share with you guys is that we have 4 different environmental literacy networks in our county office, which all are kind of working together in a collaborative way. And originally we didn't think that there would be a lot of opportunities for them to connect, but what we realized is that our youth wanted their teachers to know how important this was. Our teachers wanted to know, how do we share this with our youth? And our community partners wanted to know, how do we get into the classroom? So there was this kind of huge engagement that was going on, and we realized this year we needed to give some very specific opportunities for all of our networks to engage with our youth and let the youth decide what that should look like. So our youth network is YELL, which is Youth for Environmental Literacy. And it is made up of high school students from not just San Joaquin County, but all of Region 6. So it's San Joaquin County and our 5 surrounding local counties. And we do have students that come. We're doing virtually most right now, all the way from Sonora and other areas. So it's just exciting for us that this network is really reaching out to other students who wouldn't necessarily feel like they have the same kind of network support in their local regions. So for the youth network, right now we have been meeting about every other month with them on a Saturday. We do a lot of opportunities where they get to learn about environmental topics that they're interested in. We've invited our community partners to come in and kind of do like a green careers opportunity for them. So for example, we had our forestry community partner come in and share with our students opportunities for forestry jobs, which a couple of our students afterwards said, I didn't even know that that was an option. I could work and be in nature. So it was a great connection to involve our community partners with our youth through our meetings. But our biggest success this year with our Yale network was that our students planned the first ever Community for Environmental Literacy Summit for our region. And what the Community for Environmental Literacy Summit was, the purpose was really to provide an opportunity for all 4 of our networks to come together, learn from each other, have opportunities to actually network and share what they're doing. And the students really chose what was going to happen at that network. So we had community partners that all kind of said, hey, we're interested in participating. And it was our youth that went through and said, these are the community partners that we want to hear from. So it really was planned from the student perspective. And it was interesting for them. A lot of them had never planned any kind of big summit or event before. So there was a lot of like coaching and hand holding to just think about the logistics of what was involved in planning that. But it was really exciting to see the students get involved and have their voice and what they wanted their community to know about their feelings around the environment and why it's so important to them. The other opportunity that we have for our youth, we have 2 outdoor education sites that are owned by the County Office of Ed, and one of them is in Manteca. It's called Durham Ferry Outdoor Education Center. It's on about 80 acres of riparian ecosystem, and we wanted to get the youth involved out there more. So what we did is that we have our youth basically sign up to be volunteer like naturalists at our outdoor ed site. So the kids come, they get trained by our 2 program manager and our coordinator out at the site and how to facilitate outdoor learning, how to facilitate things with youth, because it's 3rd through 7th graders that they're working with. And they actually come out and run them as part of their internship program. So we tapped into 2 programs in order to get the kids out there, because these do run during the school day. So our county has a couple of different future teachers programs. So the teachers that want, our students that want to be teachers later in life, get to choose from different internship opportunities to get experience in that. And so some of our youth chose to come and be naturalists at Durham Ferry to start getting their experience with working with young children from 3rd grade through 7th grade. So the kids feel really empowered, they're excited, they get job experience, and it really helps them to connect students in younger grades out in nature and realize what is really in our local ecosystem. It's always amazing to hear how many kids don't realize we have a river running right through our backyard and that there are natural organisms all around us. So it's very exciting to see the youth be the ones to kind of inspire that love of things for students. And if we want to go to the next slide, I just wanted to share a couple images from the summit this year. And oh, back one slide. Okay. Oh, it's missing. I don't know why my other slide is not there. That's okay. So I'm going to drop in the chat, since my other slide is missing, just a couple of links that I wanted to share with you guys. But one other big success I did want to share is that our youth are always involved in our Earth Day festival that happens in Stockton. And during COVID, when Earth Day was not going to happen in person, our youth actually planned an entire virtual Earth Day event and hosted it and ran workshops on air quality. And some of our main leaders that organize the Earth Day Festival normally were just so impressed with the students, they asked for them to come back the next year. And so now the kids are hosting booths. You can see some of the student-led activities that happen on that side. So they did an eco art activity. They did an oil water cleanup activity. They did bird watching and went out and helped with the hikes, and they did some nature journaling things and a lot of other stuff. So what I wanted to just share with you guys, I'm going to drop in the chat. This is the link to our website for the summit, just to kind of show you what the students chose and organized. And then one last thing that I really wanted to say, some of our key students that attend every meeting that are always there wanted people to understand why environmental education was important to them. So if you get a minute, there's a Flipgrid video of our students sharing why it's important to them. And I just think it's always good to hear directly from them. So one last quick thing, because I know we should be going to our breakout room soon. I just wanted to share some facilitator insight from the background. We were really concerned about equity and what students were showing up and not showing up. And so we realized this year that we need to have more of a leadership-based team. So similar to kind of, I think, what Andra and Amity landed on. So next year, we are actually hosting, for the first time, fingers crossed, hopefully it works well, our youth leadership team that will then help to plan all of our network meetings and our summit and events throughout the year. So that is one thing I will say, is that you really do need to build those kids up. They're excited, they come to the meetings, but we just realized that they needed more support than just what we could do in our network meetings. So just kind of some backward insight that I think having that leadership team, hopefully, and hearing from Andrew and Amity inspires me that hopefully this will work. I think is going to be a good way to build up that network a little bit more amongst our students. And yeah, so that's our county. So thank you.
Great, thanks everybody. And those were great stories. I'm seeing lots of great comments of just having a lot of folks being inspired by these stories and kind of thinking about ways that they can maybe, if they haven't started this work, you know, get connected to youth a little bit more. So that's what this section will be about. So we're going to we're going to give you a little bit of time to first reflect on your own, and you're going to see a familiar spreadsheet that we've been using all year, but we are going to have you go to the link for the June meeting, which is today, that tab, and there are some questions on here that are asking you about where you are as far as your engagement with youth, and maybe remember those categories from earlier in those different parts. So take a moment just to think for your own county office where you're at, maybe put a couple notes in there. You should be able to have editing access, and just go ahead and add your answers there. And then, you know, take a few minutes to do that. Maybe you already, you know, have started a youth summit, or maybe you're planning a youth summit, or maybe you already have a youth leadership group that you're working with. So just put those in the spreadsheet. So I'll give you a couple minutes for that. We might have to be less than 5 because, you know, we're looking at our time here, and we want to give you time to chat in breakout rooms. So I'll give you some thinking time for a minute. You'll hopefully have the link to that chat or that spreadsheet, and let us know if you don't. Yeah, make sure you're on the June tab. Thanks, Amy. I'll show it to you. See if you guys are all on there. I think one link took you right to the tab and the other might not have. So this is what it should look like. And it's okay if you're not yet too. Some of us are at that point. And then we're just going to talk about it in a moment. Some of us from, yeah, I can see some plans in there too. Okay, so keep writing if you're still writing, but I want to give you some opportunities now to go into breakout rooms, and we want to give you the full 15 minutes if we can. So what we're going to do is you're going to choose a topic that you are interested in discussing further, even if you're just getting started. Maybe you want to talk with some like-minded people who are just getting started with your youth connection. So there's 5 different breakout options. You're going to choose your own adventure. So breakout 1 will be partnership with youth organizations. What are some ways to do that? Breakout room 2 is knowledge to action and thinking about how, and maybe an annual summit. So it's a combined topic. Partnerships and ongoing coaching for student leadership. Maybe you're in breakout room 4, you're just getting started and just want to talk to some folks about that. Or you're ready to take programs to the next level. So 5 different options, and we're going to be in these breakouts for about 15 minutes. Keep that spreadsheet open as well, because you might also want to add some more things maybe that came up that you might have forgotten about in the discussions. And then pick maybe one person if we have time to come when we come back for a group discussion and sharing out maybe some key takeaways with the larger group when we come back. So we're going to do this for 15 minutes, and some of us will be in those rooms with you to help facilitate. And go ahead and choose your own adventure for about 15 minutes. And if you have questions, go ahead and you can unmute or ask us questions. I'm going to join my group. Amy can answer questions, right?
Okay, I think everybody's back. So thanks for taking that time to be in your breakout rooms and go through that. It was great to hear from the room I was in. It was great to hear different ideas that people want. And I hope it was fruitful in other places as well. As always, don't hesitate to reach out to any of us that shared or anybody in the COE Innovation Hub that has said that they've done some youth stuff. I think we want to make a transition to our last part, which is reflections on the year. So Jen, I don't know if I should, or if you want to, sorry, I know we had the slide sharing situation earlier. So maybe you just share your slides and
Amity's going to share. Yeah.
Thank you. Couldn't remember. Yeah. So we wanted to just say like big thank you to everybody for joining us over the course of this year. This was our first year doing this COE. Oh, sorry. I forgot we were supposed to do this part. Yeah. Let's go there.
Yeah, we don't, I don't think we have time to share out, but if they want to share in the chat some takeaways, that'd be awesome.
Great. So thank you for joining us this year. This was our first time trying out this like statewide community of practice. We did it in a certain structure and style that we are hoping worked for folks, but we are of course open to like trying out new things. But we just wanted to say like, here's some of the things that we did do as a community of practice. We started off with all these different topics. We started with like big picture systemic change. Then we went through different kind of like key things like community-based partners. What does it look like to do this in the curriculum and sharing tools along the way. And we also touched on facilities and we touched on funding. And then of course, this last one we just did was around youth. So we hit a lot of different topics and we were hoping that was really useful for you. If you go to the next slide, we shared a lot of tools along the way as well. And we also tried to make that space for everybody to share kind of like where they're at in relationship to these tools or where they're at without these tools already doing the work in their county. So that was our goal, was to just say like, here's some stuff, but what are you already doing, and get some ideas from everybody. Next slide. We had a lot of representation across the state. So we just like a little history about this, our work with the COEs coming together really started in 2019-20 as like a working group. Then in 2021, it really was just this innovation hub group pulling it together. And this was the first time that we really opened it up and said, we want everybody involved. And that's really our goal, is all 58 counties. We've had over 40 COEs join this community of practice over the course of time, and we're excited to see so many different COEs exploring this and thinking about it. Next year, we'll have different levels of participation through Cali. So we'll have, of course, the community of practice. We're going to do it again, not necessarily the same exact topics, but we're still trying to figure out what will be the right structure. We're also going to have the innovation hub for folks that really want to do this work, contribute to these tools and really facilitating this type of community practice. And then we'll also have a fellowship program that will allow people to really jumpstart their initiative in their county and get this work really moving forward. So before we go too far into that, we'd love for people to just look back and reflect on what it was like to be a part of this community of practice and what were some of the key takeaways. And that will help this group plan for next year as well. So maybe go, yes, thank you, Emmett. I'll turn it over to you for this part.
Yes, and I didn't share using Slido. Oh, it is working. Okay, so we're going to use this tool in order to share efficiently and everybody all at the same time and be able to see. So there'll be a couple slides. There'll be the takeaways, and then after this, we'll also have a round of suggestions for next year, so we can think about what we want this to look like next year. So the way Slido works, if you haven't used it, you can just use your device to capture the QR code on your phone, and it will pop up automatically with the poll to answer the questions. And then you can also join on another tab on your computer or whatever at slido.com and enter that number to direct you to this poll. But the QR code goes directly to the poll. And we'll just start to see what some of the key takeaways were from this year. And I wish I had that list of all the topics that we had like still visible, but I don't, sorry. Maybe somebody could drop it in the chat in case people want to have that list of the different topics visible for people to think about if there are certain takeaways from those. So definitely lots of general appreciation for just hearing about and meeting people from across the state who are thinking about this work, doing this work, sharing ideas, have some excitement about shifting the focus to the students, excitement about COEs being great change agents. Yes, we're excited to hear that. Let's change this system. We actually have a theory of action about COEs being critical to ensuring that all students in California have access to environmental literacy. So it's great to have people have that shared vision. No need to start from scratch. Yes, that was definitely a goal, was why have everybody working in isolation, creating from scratch these programs when we can share, and that's how those tools ended up being born, because those of us in the Innovation Hub who were starting the work were realizing, oh, we could make a tool that everybody could use. Not that they're perfect, you can adapt them for yourself. And yeah, it's nice to see the motivation of people outside. The passion helps keep us all going, I think, getting together with like-minded folks. And then are there new ones coming up, I think? Okay, there's more at the top. I thought they came at the bottom. So are you all able to scroll and look yourselves, or do I? Okay, good.
Yeah, we can do that, Amity.
Great, awesome. Yep, and thinking about how to connect with neighboring counties. Yeah, it's nice because we have really different landscapes, different populations that we serve. So being able to connect with people who face the same barriers to this work or the same opportunities in the work is great. Connecting leadership with environmental literacy. All right, these are awesome. Okay, I think, are we ready to move on to suggestions?
Yeah, let's do it.
Okay. So see if I can get the slide to switch. Here we go. It should give you a new question. You shouldn't have to go to Slido again. It should just have a new one now for you to enter. What suggestions do you have for next year's community of practice? Did that work?
Yes.
Yes, I see participants typing. Yes. Slido is great with students too. It's anonymous, which is very nice. People can be totally honest. Okay, so these are great. Some specific ideas like having some time to focus on school board resolutions and action, how to make those happen. Collaboration on smaller projects that could lead to larger impacts. We do that in the Innovation Hub. We have working groups, so that's something we could think about in the community of practice. Thinking about the organization of the breakouts in a variety of ways, great feedback. Having maybe longer meetings and more breakout networking and connecting time in the small groups. Yes, this first round has been a lot more information delivery than a lot of community of practice groups. And so now that we've gone through all these topics, maybe we have the opportunity to dial down how much presenting there is and have more small group time. Connecting with other content areas more. Yeah, we started off a little often more in the science realm, but there's of course the opportunity to connect to all content. More on facilitating the youth. Well, there was lots of excitement about that today, so we could definitely have some time next year on that. And micro credentials for environmental literacy for kids. Very interesting ideas. How to share with other departments. Supporting the green work in schools. Yes, that's a big one. And we were talking about that in our breakout room today. These are great suggestions. Continuing to connect with our rural counties. Yes, that could be having some breakout rooms talking about different specific strategies for different parts of the state and different community groups would be great. Yes, trying to open up this community of practice beyond curriculum and instruction. Great feedback. Yep, and then more personal outreach to get more of those 58 counties on board. We can get there. And more on climate adaptations. We've definitely, yeah, some folks in this group have done great work in that area, so we could highlight some of that next year. Community colleges, yes, yeah. How to connect more with CTE. We didn't have a CTE focused specific session this time, but there's great opportunity there as well. All right. Yeah, maybe we have a district innovation hub within Cali as well. Maybe we could invite some superintendents from those districts to come and have a visit with our community of practice, or even join. Ways to report and measure impact. Thank you. These are all wonderful, wonderful suggestions. So that poll remains active. And did we have more feedback, or is this included in the closing, the final assessment of where your COE is at, Jen?
I think that was it. I think we're
Okay.
gonna have them. Yeah.
Okay, so you're not done reflecting completely,
Yeah.
even though the slide now says closing.
Yeah.
But and those polls will remain open. If you have more ideas you want to share with us about feedback for next year, please feel free to keep adding. But I'm going to turn it back over to Jen.
Great. Thanks, Amity. So when we are looking at we want to share some of the things that we've done this last year and have you make sure you use these as resources. So we do have all of these webinars we did this last year. We're on tools for environmental literacy. So a lot of you participated in these or learned about the tools through this community practice. But we want to make sure you know that all the recordings are posted on our website. And as you all know, we have case studies. We have a teacher call to action. If you're working with teachers directly, it's a great tool to use. That was a 2-part webinar. We also have the state seal of civic engagement through environmental literacy. And then we also just had our community-based partner network toolkit that we presented last week. So, and you all saw it in a prior meeting, but just so if you want to dig back into that toolkit and those webinars. So next slide, please. Oh, and share them. Share this with all your colleagues as well. So we also mentioned earlier, we do have a new fellowship for environmental literacy initiatives for this next year. It is a semester-long fellowship for County Office of Education staff to launch or further develop robust environmental literacy and sustainability initiatives led by some great folks here in the Innovation Hub. And basically what the outcome for this will be is that you're drafting a 3 to 5 year vision, a plan, and a budget, and to identify actionable steps for your first year. And then the program structure is that there will be a retreat, monthly workshops, coaching, and final presentation. So the links to the flyer are there in the application. I think we still have space for several people. So if you have questions about that, I believe it's Amity and Andra and Tamara are leading that. So they're here. So if you have questions, you can ask them. And even if you feel like you have this down and you have, it might be a good place to just do some refresher on the work you're already doing. The other one we want you to know about opportunity is you all have heard about our community-based partner hub through Green Guardians. And there is more financial aspects available for those of county offices who may not have been able to get a partnership or be part of this website. And I know I saw that Linda is here, so if you have questions about that, we can allow for you to be part of this. I mean, it's not allow, but you can be part of this as well. I know that some of you had some financial constraints about being part of this hub. And just if you also have questions about it, just let us know. And again, Linda is here and she's part of Green Guardians now. So, and also let Amy know, because if you're wanting to be looped into this as a county office to be part of this hub. Next slide, please. I'm going fast because I'm looking at our time. So I don't know if there's a feedback survey. I can't remember, but there is some. If you have questions about any of these programs or anything that's coming up, please reach out to Amy. She's also here. And then if you also are interested in continuing, oh, sorry about the background. If you want to be part of, obviously, the community of practice, but also part of the County Office of Education Innovation Hub, please let us know, because we also would love to have you be part of that. Next slide, please.
And I would just say, Jen, really quick, there's not a feedback form for like the past. It's more about like, tell us your plans for next year. We hope to keep you engaged.
Thank you. Yes. I don't know what happened to the slides. Something happened. We want you to also make sure. We were going to give you some time, but we're running out of time. But go back to that spreadsheet that we had you look at earlier for and the different pieces that you've put in throughout the year. Use that as a reflective piece, as Andrea mentioned. What are your plans going forward? And maybe there's a section there that you can put into that spreadsheet. Thank you. And I thought we had a slide for this, but I don't know what happened to it, but
Yeah, it disappeared.
disappeared.
But
That's
please
okay.
do let us know your plans for next year with the COP. We're trying to nail down like who's continuing and or do you
Yes.
want to bring new people? Do you recommend we reach out to people? So that there's that form that says share your plans, COP 22-23 interest form. Please make sure you let us know your plans.
Yeah, and as someone pointed out earlier about reaching out to rural districts too, or rural counties, we know that there's not always a designated person, right, at a county office for this work. But if you know of someone who has that passion for it, that, that maybe, or who that contact person is, Anthony's here too, and Anthony is really good about keeping up that list of contacts at every county office. So maybe we can ping them if they're also environmental literacy champions too, to get them part of this. So we also have the resources available for you for all of our prior meetings. So if you want to go back and watch the recordings or look at the slide decks and resources. Yes, Nathan, awesome. Joining Innovation Hub, yay. So that link will be shared with you as well. And next slide, please. And I think we're wrapping up because we do wrap up at 10:15. We have 2 minutes left. And we had a lot of people drop, which is fine. But we really, really thank you all for being here this year. We know it's been a rough year for all of us and all of our colleagues, but we're really happy that you made it through with us, and we hope that you'll all be part of this next year too. Any final words from anyone else? Want to say anything?
Just big thank you. We're so
Yes.
proud of everybody for being a part of this and for sticking with us for the year. So thanks everyone and have a great summer.